I've kind of been the last 2 months about Thanksgiving, I started going down this rabbit hole of books, and I know very little about the greater Star Wars lore, the Legends lore, like any of that. I really have I don't know a whole lot about it. So I started it started with just reading an Acolyte book that just came out
Okay.
not that long ago. It was like the prequel for Jecki and Yord, and I was like, oh, these characters are so cool, and that just led me down the suggestions. Like, there's a little suggestions thing under Audible where it'll be like, well, here's some other books you might listen to. And so I was like, oh, a Revan book, let's check that out, which led me to a Darth Bane book because it was by the same author. And now I'm 2 out of 3 books into this Darth Bane series, and I'm like, this guy is super cool. And I was having this conversation like 3 days ago with Sarah Cruel, and I said, man, it's just a bummer that, like, I'd love to see this guy in Star Wars Shatterpoint, but he's Legends. And Sarah Cruel said, actually, he's in this episode of Clone Wars.
I believe so. I considered, so I know who Darth Bane is, and I considered going and hitting a wiki for Darth Bane because you told me what we were going to cover. I decided against it. I honestly, I don't like it when something sounds like someone's just reading off of the wiki page, right? You could tell, and didn't want to do it. So I'm just going with like my Darth Bane knowledge in general. And the first thing that comes to mind for me is that Darth Bane is the guy who created the rule of two. And I believe that is still canon. That at some point, if you're not familiar with the Sith background, but there was a point like Sith were just always fighting amongst each other, trying to gain power. And the way that you would gain power was always like challenging the most powerful Sith. And so there was so much infighting. And Darth Bane was the guy who thought, this is not helping. This is not helping the Sith Empire. This is not helping the Sith become the ultimate power. And so he created the rule of two, that there would just be two. There would be a master and there would be an apprentice. So the master was always training another apprentice. And as soon as an apprentice kills their master, they take on another apprentice. Or if, the apprentice dies fighting Jedi, you take on a new apprentice. And so I feel like he could still hit like normal Star Wars canon at some point, because I believe that's still the case, that he is the guy who did that.
Yeah. In the clip that Sarah Cruel sent me of the Clone Wars, Yoda sees this apparition of this Force ghost of Darth Bane, and Darth Bane says exactly that. He's like, "You're coming to me for power, right? I created the rule of two."